briefly dealing with income elasticity. So income elasticity deals with a change in your income. What's going to happen when you make more money or less money? Are you going to buy more of a certain good or less of a certain good? And that's going to depend on whether that good is a normal good or an inferior good. And so if it's a normal good, your income, there's the percent change in your income, if that's a positive, if your income is going up and this good is a normal good, then the percent change in the quantity of that good that you demand is going to have a positive coefficient. Right? So you're making more money, you're going to buy more T-bone steaks. Right? So your income goes up, the quantity of T-bone steaks you demand goes up, and so the coefficient, the elasticity coefficient for income should be positive. So what if we had a question, let's just say, that asked about peanut butter? Well, is peanut butter a normal good, or is it an inferior good? And for an inferior good, if your income is going up, the quantity that you demand is going down. It's decreasing. Or if your income's going down, now you're buying more ramen noodles. And so if your income's going down, then your consumption of some inferior good is going to go up. And let me note too that if an inferior good doesn't necessarily mean that the product is somehow, the quality isn't as good as some other product. It's an inferior good because by definition it has a negative coefficient income elasticity. So let's go back to our example here of peanut butter. Let's say that you're the boss, you're running the store, and you know that, or you just read an article in the paper that there's a recession and incomes are going to drop in your region. People that shop at your store, they're going to see an income decrease next year of about 15%. So a decrease of 15% in income. And you do some research, dig around, you find that the income elasticity of peanut butter is negative 0.7. And so now you're saying, well, now what's going to happen? I got to make my orders for peanut butter. I know people are going to be bringing in less money. Their income's going to go down. Are they going to eat more peanut butter or less peanut butter? What's going to happen to the quantity of peanut butter that they demand? It's going to change. Their incomes are changing. But are they going to eat more peanut butter or less peanut butter? And you can tell because it's got this negative coefficient for income elasticity, that means peanut butter, in this example, is an inferior good. So when people's income goes down, they're going to buy more peanut butter. They're going to buy more peanut butter, they're going to buy more beans and rice, they're going to buy less steak. And now we want to calculate how much more peanut butter they're going to buy. Well, we can use a little bit of algebra, multiply both sides by negative 15%, negative 15%, and it should be about 15 times 0.7 should be about 10.5% is going to be our percent change in the quantity demanded. So the quantity, and I almost forgot, this was a negative and a negative, so this is going to be a positive. So this the income is going down 15% because the income coefficient of elasticity for peanut butter is negative. That means that we're going to buy more peanut butter. And so that 15% drop in income is going to lead to a 10.5% increase in the quantity of peanut butter that we're demanding. So what should you do if you're the boss for the supermarket? Well, you should probably order about 10.5% more peanut butter than you've been ordering to keep up with that increased quantity demand, the increased quantity demanded of
Let's talk about prices and inflation real fast. Inflation is right here. It's an increase in the price level. When price levels increase, when prices go up, which they do historically, for instance, a house today costs a lot more than a house 50 years ago, even for the same size of house. Food costs today more than it used to cost, right? So prices tend to go up. And what it does is it reduces your purchasing power. What you can get for your, so it's an increase in price level, it reduces your purchasing power. What you can get for the same money is reduced. So if you make $1,000 a year and you go to buy, you know, a chair for 20 bucks, all right, well then it costs you 20 bucks. The next year, if you still make $1,000 and the chair is up to $25, now that chair is worth a lot more and your purchasing power has been reduced. For example, let's say your wages, how much money you make, let's say that increases by 10%, all right, which is great. You have 10% more money to spend on stuff. But prices have gone up by 15%. Even though you have 10% more money, you actually are 5% worse off. You have 5% less purchasing power because even though your wages went up by 10%, prices on average went up 15%. So you're worse off. So measuring inflation tells us, and being able to harness inflation and understand what it does to our prices and our output and be able to measure it with to other years is important to see how our economy is doing in the macro economy. So we measure prices. Changes in prices are measured in what's called price indexes. There's a bunch of price indices that economists use. The most popular one in our world is the CPI, which stands for Consumer Price Index. And what we do, since they're in this market basket of goods, you know, one set of goods is compared year after year after year. So in our example here, our market basket would be canes and towels and doors. And we would want to compare how the price has changed from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. We always want to use the same products because if we use different products, then we're not going to get an accurate portrayal of how prices have changed. For this example, we'll just say one cane, one towel, and one door. You always want to have, and obviously we buy more than one cane, one towel, or one door, but we want to have the same amount bought each year to determine prices. Okay, we want to have similar amounts, or similar bought goods to compare. The equation for the CPI is to figure out current prices, sometimes called nominal prices, so nominal or current prices over the base year price times 100. So let's give an example. So in year 1 we have canes for $1, towels for $2, and doors for $5. So total, this would equal $8. So the current price for year 1, or the nominal price, would be $8. For year 2, it'd be $150 plus $225 plus $550, and that would be, let's see, that's $925, right? And then for year 3, it would be $1050. So if we want to figure out the CPI for year 1, we would take 8, which is our current, right? And base, everyone has to have a base year to compare it. So if you want to compare how much prices have gone up, you have to have a year to compare it to. And usually we'll just use year 1. You don't have to. You can choose any year to be base. But your base year will usually end up, or always end up, being 100. So CPI for year 1, current was $8 over, if we're going to choose year 1 as our base, it'd be $8 times 100. This would cross out, and our CPI would equal 100. So for year 2, our current is $925, so $925 over our base year, which is 8, times 100. And then you can figure out, you know, divide 8 into 925, take it times 100, and that is your new CPI. For year 3, and you can move over here, for year 3, the current, or the nominal price is $1050 over the base of $8 times 100, and then you can see CPI. Okay? So that is what inflation is, a change in price levels. It reduces your purchasing power. When inflation goes up, your purchasing power is reduced. Here's an example. Here's the type of price index we're going to look at. Here is the formula for price index, and then here's an example of how we look at one. In the next one, we're going to look at how you figure out changes in CPI, and we're going to look at GDP as well. So we're going to look at GDP, how the price indexes will fit into that, and then how we can compare from year to year.
Inflation rates slowed down to an 8-month low due to stable food prices and a stronger peso. The November rate of 2.8% was below the market forecast of 3%, as well as the 3.1% recorded in October. Analysts say given the benign inflation rate, there's little reason for the Bangko Sentral to cut interest rates further on December 13th, its last meeting for the year. The BSP earlier said the economy does not need any monetary support at this point. Budget Secretary Butch Abad, meanwhile, says the low inflation environment coupled with low interest rates is good for the economy.
Hello class, can I explain any marketing concepts?
Professor Siegfried, can you explain what deflation is from a consumer's perspective?
Well, Sarah, deflation is the steady drop in prices of goods, wages, and services and has many serious effects. Households are stuck paying off mortgages, car loans, and other debt even as their take-home pay has declined. Also, as housing values fall, consumers have smaller nest eggs for retirement. Companies, meanwhile, are unable to raise prices, which puts pressure on their profits.
I see, Professor. So what are the implications for marketers?
Well, Sarah, marketers can offer customers products at low price points but still have high value. For example, McDonald's in Japan have a 100 yen menu today where in 1990 the same menu was 210 yen. Also, in Japan, golfers today are paying 26,800 yen or $324. For a game of golf compared to 40,000 yen 20 years ago.
So is deflation a bad thing?
Deflation is highly corrosive because businesses cut prices to compete. It becomes harder for them to borrow and invest. Lastly, deflation decreases nominal growth rates and deprives governments of tax revenue. Eventually, governments may no longer be able to finance its borrowing. The country will then either have to default on its debt or devalue its currency to reduce the real value of its liabilities. Deflation is nasty business.
Thanks, Professor, for this explanation of deflation.
Okay, now we're going to talk about elasticity. This is demand elasticity of price or supply price elasticity. And what elasticity is, it's a measurement of how much change we have in quantity, either demanded or supplied, when there's a change in price. And the reason why this is important is because companies use this. Companies figure out just how elastic something is. If there is a small change in quantity with a large change in price, then a company knows that it can hack up prices and people will continue to buy the good. If there's a small change in quantity with a smaller change in price, there's a large change in quantity based on a small change in price, well then companies know if they just move their price a little bit, people are either going to buy a bunch of it if they lower their price, or hardly any of it at all if they increase their price. It tells companies how to price stuff. So this is important because this is how companies figure out how much they're going to charge us for goods. We look at cost, obviously, but this is a determinant of like price equilibrium. Where is the price equilibrium? Oftentimes we use elasticity analysis. So essentially, what the formula is the percent change in quantity over the percent change in price. And how you figure that, as you can see here, Q sub 2 minus Q sub 1 all over q sub, or over q sub 2 plus q sub 1 divided by 2. Remember to do your order of operations, do them inside the parentheses first. All over p sub 2 minus p sub 1 over p sub 1 plus p sub 2 divided by 2. So this is giving you the percent change in q, this is giving you a percent change in p, and you divide the 2. Alright? And then it comes out that if it's greater than 1, right, it equals elastic. Elastic is greater than 1. If it's less than 1, then it's called inelastic. An inelastic demand, or an elastic price demand elasticity. If it equals 1, that means it is what's called unit elastic. So I've got 3 examples up here that we're going to do. And what you can do at home or wherever you are is, I'll look up here and you can either, we'll do this one, you can do it at home, or you can watch me do it. And every one, if you want to try to do it on your own, pause your YouTube clip and then see if you got the right answer. I don't have a calculator on me, so I'll set the problem up and I'll simplify it. And then you can just figure it up at home with a calculator. And if the answer is more than 1, then it is elastic. If it's less than 1, sorry, if it's more than 1, elastic. If it's less than 1, inelastic. And if the answer happens to equal 1, then it's unit elastic, which means there is an exact percent change in price related to an exact percent change in demand. Okay. Also, use the larger number with all the larger numbers for Q sub 2. The book might just have like Q and Q sub 1. But anyway, if you use the smaller numbers, you'll get the same answers. If you have a smaller number for Q sub 2, you'll just get negatives. So to avoid getting negatives, always use a larger number for Q sub 2 and P sub 2 because it will get rid of your negatives. Okay? So let's do this one. So point A, there's a price of 20 and a quantity of 20. Where at point B, there's a price of 15 and a quantity of 40. So going down in price from 20 to 15, you elicited an increase in 20 units, right? It doubled. So looking at this, you can tell it's going to be elastic in that a percent change here isn't that big compared to this. But let's do it mathematically to figure out just how big. All right, so let's look at our formula and we do our Q's first. So quantities always on the top of the numerator, all right? So it's 40 minus 20 over 40 plus 20 divided by 2 all over the price now, which is 20 minus 15 over 20 plus 15 divided by 2. Alright? That's going to give us 20 over 30, and that will give us 5 over, this is 35 divided by 2, 17.5. Alright? It's 35 divided by 2, 17.5. And this will end up being, 0.66 divided by 5 into 17.5 is probably about 0.28 or somewhere in there. I don't know exactly. You have a calculator, you figure it out. But clearly 0.66 over this is going to be, it's going to be over 1, so we can tell this is elastic. In fact, it's going to be over 2. So it's going to be elastic because this number here is greater than 1. So the change here, a small change in price gave us a huge change in quantity demanded. And so this is going to tell a retailer, ooh, maybe we should lower our price because we'll get a huge amount, right? So it's important for producers. It's an important thing to know. All right, let's do this one here. We see a change in price from 25, point A, 25 price at 10 goods. Point B is 15 as a price and 30 as the goods sold. So you can set the equation up. You can pause it at home. We'll do it together. This would be the quantity on the numerator, right? 30 minus 10 all over 30 plus 10 divided by 2 all over 25 minus 15 over 25 plus 15 divided by 2. All right, that's 20 over. This is going to be 20 over 20 all over 10 over. This is 40 divided by 2, 20. So this is going to be 1 over 0.5, and this will equal 2. So 2 is more than 1, so this is elastic. Okay, did you get that at home? Okay, so then we'll do this one, because you can do the same thing with supply. The analysis works the exact same thing with supply. So let's do this one with supply. You can see here at point A, it's 20 units and there's, or sorry, $20 and it's 30 units. Point B, the price increases to $30 and they're willing to supply 40. Okay. So supply elasticity, let's see what's going to happen. So we do quantity first. So it would be 40 minus 30 over 40 plus 30 divided by 2, all over price on the denominator, right? Use the large number first. 30 minus 20 over 30 plus 20 divided by 2. This is 10 over 35, all over 10 over, that's 25, right? So it looks like this is going to be, this is 0.4 here, and then this is less than 0.4. I'm probably some in the neighborhood of, let's see, 10 over 30, 0.33. This is probably in the neighborhood of like 2.27 or something, whatever it is. Either way, it's going to end up being less than 1. So the supply elasticity for this is inelastic. So this is an inelastic supply elasticity. So it's important to know this equation. What's elastic, what's inelastic, and why we use it. It's used so businesses know exactly what to charge and how much to supply with price. We usually look at demand elasticity more. Here's the overarching principle. So we're measuring how much will there be a change in quantity based on whatever price is going to change. Okay? So that should be that. And if you have any questions, don't be scared to call or text.